Hey, Coach, so happy you found us. A couple things. First of all, make sure you go over and subscribe and like. We love those. Second thing is go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. It's the one-stop shop for basketball coaches. It's a community of like-minded coaches. We just got off an hour and a half call just talking basketball. Come over and join us. There's nothing else like it on the market. It's got everything you need to win more games in less time. Come over and check out teachhoops.com. Let's head off to the video.
Welcome to Coach Unplugged. Whoa, this we're in the Blue Wire Studios. And welcome, Josh. Couple things. First of all, we were talking before we came on the air. I've done 1,651 Coach Unplugged podcasts. All of them have been in quote unquote the studio in Madison, Wisconsin. So usually my intro is welcome to Coach Unplugged and the fifth quarter studios in Madison, Wisconsin. And now we're sitting in the Blue Wire Studios with a bunch of glass and people walking by on a Sunday morning, and a lot of them look like they've lost a lot of money. What do you think? What do you think, Coach?
They're not looking as good as they were when they flew in. That's for sure.
It's like fish in a fish bowl. They're just kind of looking at us. But anyway, let's get off to the podcast. Josh, welcome. Thank you for coming in on a Sunday morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about your basketball journey. Go ahead, and then for all the listeners, so they can kind of just know. And then we're going to talk about Nevada basketball and kind of compare it to Wisconsin basketball.
Yeah, so I'm a 27-year-old high school coach out here in Las Vegas. I've been coaching for the last 10 years. All through my senior year of high school, I got an opportunity to coach the JV team as an assistant coach. And so that kind of put me on my journey as a coach. I kind of realized that playing wasn't going to be for me after high school, but coaching was. And so doing that, my high school coach told me, hey, when you come back, I got a job for you. I don't care where I'm at, I have a job for you. And so I went away for a year and a half, came back, decided that I wanted to come back home. Started coaching right away. Coached on the varsity team with him, helped assist with the JV team, and then it was a private school, so they had an elementary team. And so they gave me the entire elementary boys and girls program at the same time.
So what age is that?
That was 5th and 6th graders. So I think they were 10 and 11, boys and girls at the same time.
So what is the biggest obstacle with coaching that level?
Patience. The patience level for somebody that, when you're in the high school level, you expect a kid to know at least a little bit about basketball. A rule, a fundamental of something. There, it's scratch. You are their first experience with basketball. And so you have to make it fun for them, despite how competitive you are on the next day when you're coaching the varsity team, and being able to try to differentiate the two. It was a struggle.
I tell people it's almost like herding cats a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, that is probably in doing it with two different groups at the same time. Those kids they're chasing each other, and you're trying to just get them in one single line to do a layup.
Right.
And you're talking about what foot to jump off of. Extending your hand, and you turn around and they're gone.
Right. Yeah. No, and I've told people too, especially with coaching youth players and stuff, is you got to keep them active. You got to keep them doing something at all times. But I found that out. I found it very difficult when I was coaching. I was coaching my high school team, and then I was also coaching my son's youth team. Oh. That shift is a really hard, like you said, a really hard mental shift. So then what happened after that?
So after that, I got started actually coaching another sport at a local public school, which is much larger school. The school that I was at before, 100 high schoolers. This one now, it's 2,800 kids. And then I started coaching the girls team there. Started out as a JV coach, and then the varsity coach decided he was going to leave, and so I put in for the girls head varsity job and was able to get that job. And then while that was actually simultaneously happening, I was also named the head football coach. So I was doing football and girls basketball at the same time for about a year, leading into COVID.
So what was the hardest part about that? That because I coached boys volleyball for about, I think it was 7 years. I coached boys volleyball in the fall, and then I think I had a week off in between, and then went right to the high school boys basketball season. So what was the hardest obstacle with that?
Definitely trying to put in, because I was the new coach, essentially trying to put in my touch on the offense, my touch on our defensive principles and everything like that. And while me and the previous coach, we shared a lot of the same philosophies, as there's wordings, there's terminologies that are different. And then there's also a little bit of, I hung my hat on the defensive end.
Right.
A little bit more, especially in a full court situation where he was much more of kind of a sit back in a 2-3 zone, kind of let people come to you. I wanted to get after him. And so trying to get that mindset for these girls that, putting my touch on it while still not being there for the entire fall season.
Right.
So we were really hard in the summer. We probably played in 30 games over the summer with them, trying to get them under that. And then I kind of went MIA a little bit,
That's what I was going to say. So let's circle back onto that, because I want to, for listeners, I want them to be able to hear this. So are there rules? What are your specific rules in the summer for high school basketball? Can you have, because here's what we have in Wisconsin. We can have 5 contact days. And then we can have unlimited contact days as long as it's not run through the school. So if a youth organization or something else runs it, we can have from the last day of school until the first day of school or middle. I don't even remember what it is, because we stop August 1 because football's starting and all of that. So 30 is a lot of games anyway. But tell me what that kind of looks like during the summer for high school.
So we do everything kind of not through the school. We do it all as a club program and everything like that. So we go from being the Sunrise Mountain to being the mountain or whatever. However,
and where is Sunrise? So tell me, we're sitting on the strip in Vegas right now. How far is?
We're about 20 miles northeast from here. Right, we butt and share a wall with Nellis Air Force Base.
Okay.
So that's where we're at, right at the base of the mountain,
Okay.
right up against the Nellis Air Force Base is where our high school is located.
Okay.
So we are allowed to do things outside of school. Now, when it comes to being in school, everything with the school runs through the school year, and we have dead periods leading up to other seasons of sports. So like the 2 weeks before football, volleyball, all of those fall sports start, that's considered a dead period. You are not allowed to touch your kids at all, because their mindset is you don't want to pull them away from being able to try out and partake in another sport.
Ah, that's interesting. Now, can you have, so our dead period is actually during the season. Can you not during the season, during the off season. So as long as school's going on, I can have contact with them from November to March, and then once March comes on, it's dead until school gets out. I can't. We can't have any. I can open the gyms and let them play, and that's the extent of my contact with them.
No, we don't have those hard press rules like that. It's more like this is your dead period. You can't do anything. You don't touch those kids at all. And then when that season gets ramped up, you can go right back to it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you were doing both of those.
Yep.
And then what happened?
And then so COVID hits. So we were able to, luckily, we finished our high school season for basketball about 2 weeks before COVID hit. And everything was shut down. And so during that time period, I get a phone call from my principal that says, hey, you got to make a decision. We would love to have you as the girls coach. You just finished. We had actually one of the most successful years in school history. And he's like, or you can continue with football. And so me thinking, football obviously being a better job, a bigger job, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take football, and I can go back to basketball.
Right. Is football big in Nevada?
It is
not Texas football.
It's not Texas football by any means, but I mean it's big, and with my age at that point in time, there's nobody close to me. I was 24 years old, and I'm the head coach, and that was kind of even in my own, prideful research, I couldn't find anybody that was anywhere close to my age as a head football program of a varsity. I mean, we're playing in at that point, it's the second highest classification in the state.
Okay.
And nobody is anywhere close. So I was, in my own prideful ways, was like, I can go back to basketball. There's a little bit more. I mean, I was still the youngest basketball coach, but there's people that were within a few years of me. There's nobody close to me.
Right. That's the hard part about being 20 sometimes, is that pride gets in the way.
Yeah, pride comes before the fall.
It does. It does. Okay, so we went with football. Then what?
So now we're back.
That's COVID year,
That's
right?
COVID year.
Okay.
And so then we come back. We actually missed out on every sport except for spring here in Nevada.
Are you kidding me?
We did not play. We did not play any fall sports or any winter sports. We missed we missed 2 full sports seasons before we came back.
Yep. So here's what happened in Wisconsin. COVID happened. I remember the date. Our last day of school was March 13th, 2020. Spring was canceled, and then the entire athletic season of so that would have been 2021. But it was canceled. My seniors didn't have anything.
Yep. So that was
whole year. That was similar to you then.
So ironically, we
were the casinos open?
no. We went here in Nevada for a good 2 months. We went dark. I mean, dark. Nothing was open.
Really?
Nothing. I mean, you could go to a fast food place and you could go to Walmart. I mean, that was the extent. I mean, you couldn't go to like if you didn't sell food at your store, you could not go there.
Okay.
So ironically though, that 2020-2021 school year, where we missed out, we finally started to come back to like the return to play stuff, and we had that spring season. So they allowed baseball, softball, track to play. Coaches around the valley put together a basketball tournament, and it was essentially a de facto season to tournament to be able to say, like, we crowned a champion, your seniors get to play, everything like that. So ironically, at that point in time, I was not the head basketball coach, but I coached that entire league. So I still ended up coaching my seniors anyways in that whole league, because the guy that was one of my assistants that had taken over the job, the timing of it didn't work for him, because most coaches are teachers. He wasn't a teacher.
Right.
And so they were running it during the school week at random times and stuff like that. So we did that, and then we come back to school. We go back to coaching football, and after last season, they decided that they were going to part ways, and so we're just sitting here now.
So what? Let's talk a couple things. So you want to come back into coaching, obviously?
Oh, absolutely.
What is going to be the avenue of that? You think is it going to be? And are you a teacher? I didn't even ask you.
I am a teacher. So
what do you teach?
I teach video production, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you should walk in the back of the Blue Wire studio.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, this thing is awesome. I was already checking. It was funny because as they were sitting there checking our cameras, I was looking at. I was like, oh, what cameras do they use? So I teach video production, which is, it's awesome. It's a great,
That's a good gig.
Yeah, it's a great gig.
For people that are teachers, you're always looking for that kind of gig.
Yeah.
Because the kids want to do it.
Exactly. And that's, I did.
Can I TikTok?
Yeah.
Can I set up my video?
And it's encouraging. And I get to encourage those things. It's like, okay, what is the TikTok trend this week? Okay, let's do it.
We could go down that rabbit hole and talk about TikTok. And first of all, I'm a stats teacher, so we have a video production person and a stats teacher. The statistics behind TikTok is crazy. The algorithm is unbelievable. It's addicting. I'm addicted. I watch TikTok before I go to bed. It's crazy because they feed you what you want.
Exactly. It's tailor made to you, no matter what.
And that's where the video production comes in. Anyway, we get off. I tend to get off. If you've listened to Coach Unplugged, I get off task anyway. But it's true. It's not like Netflix where you get to pick what you watch. They tell you what you're going to watch. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. All right. So awesome gig. That's a great gig for coaching.
Yes. Oh, it's fantastic.
Because you can use Huddle. You can use all the video software to break your stuff down.
Yep.
And that could be a class project.
It is a class project. We actually for our boys team, we've actually started putting together their individual highlight tapes. And so they brought in all their clips, and that's part of my class's job is they have to put together the players' highlight tapes for the year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good gig for the future of your coaching career. Keep that gig if you can.
That's why I'm still at the school.
That's how you're still.
That's why I didn't leave after that.
Yeah, don't leave.
It was like teaching. I could go be a coach, but nobody really has a job for me.
Well, yes, you need to find one that has the video production, because the sole reason I'll get out of teaching is grading. It's like laundry. It never goes away.
Never.
It's always there. And you don't take stuff home, probably. You're not grading stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
Never.
I'm going to be on a plane going back to Wisconsin, probably grading papers today. So good gig. All right, so that will be perfect for. So you don't want to leave the school. Do people coach that aren't in a specific school? Does that work in Nevada that way?
It does. It's obviously not ideal for anybody. The thing we have out here is we're not all on a consistent schedule either.
What does that mean?
So we have like our school, we get out at 1:10, but the next school
you get out at 1:10?
1:10.
What time do you start school?
7 a.m.
Okay, so high school starts at 7 a.m.
High school starts at 7
Okay,
a.m.
so that should never happen.
Oh yeah, that
should never happen. Are you kidding me? The kids are up until like 1 or 2 a.m. That's horrible.
It's actually just started this year.
Oh, that's horrible.
I mean, not like we were any better before. We started at 7:45.
Right.
But we had big busing issues, and it actually started to affect athletics a lot because there was a huge busing shortage, and we'd be sitting there. We'd have a game at 3:30, and we'd still be sitting there at 3 o'clock waiting for a bus to pick us up. And so they had to make adjustments to these schedules to try to get everything to work to be able to get people where they needed to go.
Yeah, busing's a huge issue in Wisconsin too. Okay, so what is going to be your next step to find a coaching job?
So, first of all, I'm available.
Well, I'll make sure I put Coach's stuff in the show notes.
I'll make sure I have my resume in there. I'm available.
Available.
No, so
are you willing to move to Wyoming?
I might have to run it by the wife, but
Okay.
my wife is big on Target, so you gotta have to find a Target in Wyoming that's there.
Oh, she likes Target, like the store.
The store Target.
Okay,
that's where all my coaching checks go.
Okay, it's a Target.
It's the Target.
All right.
That was one of the things when we talked about when I talked about moving for coaching is that we're not going to go to some small little town. It has to be somewhere that has a Target.
Yeah, which is most of the U.S.
Exactly. Yes. I was like, I don't think that's a very hard sell.
No.
And so
we
can make it work.
Yeah. Even northern Wisconsin has Targets. It's like it can be in the middle of nowhere. Yes.
Yeah. Big red circle is going to be there for you. Don't worry.
Target. Yes.
My boys coach at the school is one of my really good friends, and his big thing is trying to get me on board with him. So that's
a good gig. It's easier to get a job when you have a coaching job.
Yeah, and so he wants me to join with him. There's some other jobs around town that are open. I kind of settled down on the year. I know we talked about it before. My mother-in-law passed away, and so I was kind of just didn't even really think about it. But as that kind of heals and time kind of goes on, I'll definitely be looking into some of the more openings around town. Like I said, luckily I'm still pretty young.
Yeah,
I'm 27. So
how is the teaching jobs availability, all those things?
So I mean,
I know there's a teaching shortage
in my area. It's kind of like what you said. It's the job that people go and they don't ever leave. You either retire or you die in my job because it's such a good gig.
Right.
So finding those around town is a little bit tougher. Now, luckily, the good thing about the way that Nevada teaching stuff works is you can go into a job and then you can get your licensure while you're in there and kind of go through that route.
Okay.
So I mean, it does have some availability for me. It's not like I'm tied down to it, but I mean, teaching is 90% of what you're doing,
Right.
so it does make
It
a
is.
difference.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't buy, like, I'm looking outside into the casino right now. I couldn't buy a third of an inch of the carpet out there with my coaching salary. It's basically it's a donation. I always
You
say
get a coaching salary.
yeah,
We get stipend checks.
you get stipends. It's not bad. Wisconsin's not a bad place. All right, so
Hey, Coach. Hope you're liking the video. If you are, subscribe down below. That would be awesome. That will help us get noticed all over the web. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell up above. You get a notification when we put a new video up every day. That's good. Also, make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.
let's talk some basketball. Let's talk some specific basketball stuff. So what would a tip be? What would a tip be for a younger coach? What would you give to someone that's listening to this, that's going into coaching? I still remember I didn't get the job I really wanted. I didn't get, and I'm so glad I didn't get it. Similar to sometimes you lose a job and
Yeah.
maybe it's meant to be.
Yeah, no.
Because I'm telling you, if I'd have gotten that job, I wouldn't have won 3 state titles. I wouldn't be in the hall. I just wouldn't be, because I wouldn't have had the players. So it happened for a reason. My wife said she wouldn't live in northern Wisconsin either, so I can empathize. She goes, I'm not new. That's not happening. But what tip would you give a younger coach?
I would say don't be deterred by any sort of failure. Kind of like what you're saying right now. I originally, I didn't get the jobs that I thought I was going to get.
And at 20, you think you should be the head coach at Duke.
And
I'm telling you that, at least if you were like me, I thought
the first school that I was at was my alma mater, and I thought that I was going to be a shoo-in to become their next head coach. I was like, well, as soon as he leaves, he's going to call me.
Right.
No matter what, like, it doesn't even matter that I'm not there or whatever. Like, he's gonna call me, and I'm gonna be right there. And I didn't, and for a while I was like, well, I'm not gonna coach there ever again. Like, I'm not even gonna help out. And then as like cooler heads prevailed, I was like, all right, like, this guy is way more qualified than me.
Right.
Than as much as I think I'm qualified.
But I mean,
like,
that's being a 20-year-old though.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it really is.
So I mean, even then, like I said, when I was going through getting the girls' head job and everything like that, I was trying to be the football coach, and I didn't get that, and then I got the girls' job, and I loved it, and I was so ecstatic, and then it ended up working out that I didn't sit there and I say, oh well, if I'm not going to get the head football coach, then I'm not going to be here at all,
Right?
Because a month later after the guy that they hired, he walked out on them. And they came to me and was like, we want you to do this. So then at that point, I have 2 head coaching jobs.
Right.
And, like I said, I was very, very...
Would you think about the girls' job again?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was actually one of the comments that I made to... then when they decided that they were going to move on from me from football, I was like, well, you guys made me choose.
Right.
If it was... That would be fine. If you took football away from me and I still had this other job, like, I would be, a little bit more upset, but I wouldn't be nearly as upset as I am now, because now I have nothing.
Right.
Now I'm not coaching anything.
Right.
So I told them, I said, well, are you going to give me the girls' job back? And they're like, well, we would have to take it away from the coach. And I was like, and
yeah, I know. I think that growth mindset's big though too. And I tell my players this all the time. It's like, and we hit some obstacles. We were talking about that before we came on the air. I think those obstacles can do one of 2 things. They can make you stronger, and you can learn from them, which is that growth mindset, or you can just start blaming.
Exactly.
Like the official the other night that told me that we needed to build bridges rather than yell at him. I hope he listens to this. Sorry.
You need to build bridges.
That's what he said to me. So I was scolding him a couple times
which we never do.
About some of his calls. And he goes, I'm gonna go home angry tonight because I should have teed you. And I go, well, I don't want you to be angry, and maybe you should have teed.
So go ahead and give me the tee.
We were up like 35 at that point.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, if you got to do what you got to do, but it's like, why aren't you building bridges? It's like, because you guys miss some obvious calls. If I do that, the parents are yelling at me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole.
The coaching ref dynamic is always good. I
You know what a friend told me a long time ago is just assume every official is bad. They're all bad.
Yeah.
And when you get a decent call, you'll feel better. So I just have the mentality that all of them are going to make bad calls.
Even then, though, they don't always. I have my one really good ref encounter was when I was coaching JV girls basketball, and we're in the middle of it's early, and I hadn't been on these guys at all or anything like that. But a couple trips down, my girl had tacked and gotten fouled, and they didn't call it. So they come down, and the girl gets fouled, and I'm like, "That's a foul." Whistle blows. Perfect. I'm happy. I have no issues.
Yeah.
Other ref comes over, guy's making his call. Other guy comes over, he's like, "Coach, we got it. We don't need your help." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. But sometimes I think you do." Tease me up. Oh, what? I was joking with you, man. Like
I know. Sometimes I think you need a little help. Do you have a favorite practice drill or something you do at practice?
Oh, I do. So we run this, I call it the 5-man breakout drill. And it is for, 10 to 15 minutes. It's continuous nonstop. But the way that we have organized it is it runs directly in line with our press break. And so,
Ooh, I like that.
And so we'll have 2 guards, each at the elbows. We'll have a rim runner that's taking the ball out of bounds. And we have 2 that are running a continuous loop on the outside. And so guy makes the layup, grabs the ball out. Ball can never hit the ground. So makes the layup, comes out, takes it out. Whichever direction they take the ball out of bounds, because you have to clear the hoop, so you got to get outside the key. That guard splits, comes right to the ball, outlet pass. Opposite guard is flashing straight to the middle. We're getting the ball to the middle. Now we have 2 running up the sideline. We're dishing it to one of them. If we can, we're trying to get right to the basket on that first one. If not, we make the extra pass. Layup goes in. While we have that rim runner, they got to run straight down the middle of the court, and they're catching the ball before it comes out of the cup. We're running it
I
right
know.
back.
I hate when the ball hits the floor. So what do you think about footwork? Just a side note on this, because that just jumped in my head. Footwork is horrible nowadays.
It's completely horrible nowadays. It's almost non-existent.
I know. And the kids that do it look like LeBron.
Oh, and they look like they're an all-star.
I know.
It's very simple, especially down in the post.
I know.
Post work, footwork. It is. I mean, a drop step is like you would think that you have found the golden move.
Okay, so I'm going to age myself. When you do the Sigma move, the Jack Sigma move, the up and under, for people that don't know what I'm talking about, but Jack Sigma. He played for the Seattle Sonics. He played for Seattle Sonics, right? I believe he did. He had the weird jersey.
That's the OKC Thunder, right?
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
That's what they became. I'm just dating myself to you. Yes,
it is. It's true. Anyway, so it's the up and under, and they do that in a game or something. They all want to do the Euro and
the high Euro too. The high Euro. Oh,
and they complain. Here's what I love about some of the players too. They complain. I said, yes, you can do the Euro, but I'm just telling you, half the officials are going to call it a travel because they don't know.
Yeah.
And they're 30 years behind where they need to be. So it's like if they're going to call it a travel, it's a travel. Don't do it. Anyway, it's the hardest thing.
We get the ref out here that beat when the Euro step was first coming around, and the kid traveled. I mean, it was 3 steps and 1. I mean, it was awful. And we're like, that's a travel. Ref runs by. That's a Euro step, coach. You need to learn about it. I know what a Euro step is. Thank you. I do know.
And I know what it looks like.
And I know that it's still only 2 steps. But I digress.
Yes. What do you think the hardest part about coaching is? Coaching basketball, coaching football, it doesn't matter. Because it says Coach Unplugged on the poster,
I mean, the hardest part, I think, in some ways, is getting past the game and getting into, the why behind some things. That was really, really hard for me coming up, was that trying to just understand that, to me, basketball or sports or anything, that was everything to me.
Right.
At that point in time, nothing else mattered.
I know. I always say that girls were poisonous at that point because I was so laser focused. It's
Yeah.
like if you unless you were going to rebound for me, I had no time for
Yeah,
you.
no, I mean,
like
it was in that. I mean, if I wasn't in practice, I was at home sleeping, and or I was in school, like
right.
I was going. That was everything to me, and so understanding like this generation, and for me, it was even harder because starting out coaching. I mean, I started out at 19 years old. I was coaching as a head coach of different levels and things like that. So I'm not that far removed from some of these kids, and just looking at them at the different mindset of like, yeah, I like basketball.
Well, first of all, I'll be devil's advocate a little bit. I think COVID messed them up a little bit.
Yeah, but this was even before
COVID.
I mean,
because I just see in Wisconsin right now, I just see them coming out of COVID. I just see them coming out of that fog, athletically, academically, socially, everything.
That's definitely been a hamper. I mean, I've noticed that a lot. We talked about that a lot going through that season. That was, right out of COVID. Of like, we had to have coaches meetings of like and sit down and be like, listen, it's a different world right now.
Right.
Like what these kids went through, they've been locked up. Like a lot of kids were really, truly locked up. Like,
oh, it's crazy.
There's no place for them to go. There's nothing for them to do. With my school, we're not an inner city school, but we're a lower income school. So we're way far out.
Do you have a lot of base kids?
No,
they go to school on the base,
or they go to. They're our dividing line. So the base is our dividing line for our zone.
Okay.
So a lot of them go to another school, but even then, a lot of them will go on campus because they've put a new like charter school that's on campus that they've kind of feed all the kids into and everything like that. So we don't have, if any, really, and so we had to have those meetings of like, this is a different world that these kids are in now. And trying to get them back out of it and getting back to understanding like there's rules, there's how you do things, there's accountability, and that was a big thing, was the accountability of like, no, like you have to do this. Nobody's going to do this for you. You have to do it.
Right.
Especially for some of those younger freshman, sophomore kids that they were 8th graders and now they're sophomore in high school.
It's just weird how that. Yeah. There's a huge dynamic with there. In the issue I see with these kids, a couple things. First of all, they don't hydrate enough. That's the big thing. But they also don't get enough sleep. They really do not get enough sleep. That has been one of my things. Because this thing, the phone that I'm holding up right now, they're on it. They don't sleep. They're on it till and the funny part is we have like a group chat with my team, and I'm old, so sometimes I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and do some work. But I'll go on Snapchat and I see that little head pop up. Well, why is your little head popping up? Because you're on Snapchat at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You're 17 years old. Why you should be asleep.
Yep.
You wonder why you're getting sick.
Or they're on the game.
Yeah, they're playing a game.
And I always, and that's kind of my niche to when I'm talking to kids is like, look, I'm not much older than you. Like, and I always,
I am. I'm much older.
I always tell, one of my favorite lines to tell kids is like, listen, I'm not even old enough to be your dad.
Right.
I'm not. And some of you have brothers and sisters that are older than me. Like, me and you can relate. Let me explain this to you. You can't be on the game until 3:00 in the morning on a school night. Like, that just doesn't work. I don't care. Let's take everything else out of it. You're not going to be a successful person doing that. We can now let's throw athletics in there. You haven't slept. Now you've come to school. What did you eat for breakfast this morning?
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, what did you have for lunch? Hot Cheetos. Okay. What? Anything else? No, not today. I don't. I just had a bag of hot Cheetos. Great. Well, now I know why you're doing
sluggish,
this. Yeah.
And it's like they go and have all that pot. I know it's horrible. All right, so I want to get a couple. We got about 10 minutes here. I want to get a couple more questions in. What do you think the hardest thing to teach is from a coaching standpoint? Let's just narrow in on basketball. What do you think the hardest thing to teach is?
The small things of the game that I take for granted. I mean, the little tiny, even at a high school level, a triple threat, a rip through, things that by the time that I get here, I shouldn't be telling you these things. And so I take them for granted completely because it should already be ingrained in you.
Right.
You should know that you're going to catch, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to rip through.
Right. It's the rip through. And then they wonder. So here's what we refer to it as. So they put the ball there. I said, you put the ball in one of three spots: Statue of Liberty, which is above your head; pregnant, which is here; or giving birth, which is between your knees. So I said, if you put the ball in any of those three positions, it's going to get taken.
Yeah.
So why aren't you ripping it through? I know it's like
the one above
this one is
yes,
the horrible
I
one.
just can't understand. And then
because I'm getting doubled, coach. I gotta look. I'm going like this.
And then they turn their back.
I'm getting doubled.
And then they turn their back, and you're like, "What? What are you doing?"
I know. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't understand it.
And
It's like I'm looking like this, and I'm looking around. It's like, well, you're not strong enough with it at that point.
And I had one kid that we ran a flex offense. Basic flex.
I'm switching you if you run that, but go ahead because we just played a team and they couldn't reverse the ball. We used to run that a long time ago.
The
flex is a cross screen, down screen, kind of like the swing that Wisconsin used to run.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of it. Look it up. It's a great continuity offense for a younger age level.
It absolutely is, and I really like to do it in a 1 or 2 spurts.
Right.
This time down, we're gonna run it. Boom, we get a nice easy,
and it slows them. It does slow them,
and
yes.
it gets that one extra help side to think for 2 seconds that the backdoor screen is coming, and so they're like, well, but I always teach it that pass from the wing. It's got to be hard. It's got to be an overhead, and you got to whip it in there. So the kid tells me, "Well, you teach us to put the ball above our head." No, I don't. I teach you that one singular pass.
Right.
One singular pass is going to be an overhead pass.
Right, and it's also the pivot of at least when I'm old. But when I grew up, it's like you never make a one-handed. It's like, well, yeah, you do. You make a one-handed pass. It's like layups. It's like I remember going to basketball camp and it'd be the 1-2 and up, and it's like, okay, that's great, but how often do you shoot that layup? Like we do our layup lines. We have them go opposite side. We have them with a football bag.
Yep.
We want
jump it off at 2 feet.
2 feet and 1 feet. Well, you should always go off. Here's the issue. It's like I got a really good team and we got some nuances to it. We have a couple little guards and there's times it's like I said when we're going against a 6'10" kid, you can't go off 2 feet. You got to get it. You got to float it. Like you're not getting that shot off. In any bizarro world, that shot's not going off. So I said, most of the time you should 2 foot because you're being strong, you're under control, you're going to be able to score. But I said, you got to read the room. Like you can't get that shot off. It just doesn't work. So you've only been coaching how many? 5 years? 4 or 5 years? How many total years?
Total years is 10.
10.
Yeah, if I go all the way back to that first year.
So let's go back to that first year. What's your biggest coaching failure? And what could the audience learn from that?
My biggest coaching failure is going to be in
picking football over basketball.
Yes, picking football over basketball, especially in that mindset, because it was a hard decision for me. I mean, I say, oh, I could pick football, but I agonized over it for weeks, and I kind of just boiled down to, like I said, was what job would I have a better chance of landing again? And that's why. But that girls' basketball season, we were pretty good. We were a little bit still rough around the edges, but we were pretty good. And we had taken a team. We went up to their place and we had beaten them by like 35. And we came back in my own regard. I was taking it a little lighter than I should have.
Right.
I was trying to be mindful of where we were at, and I outcoached myself in a way. Because
that's a great bit of advice for coaches. Don't overcoach.
Yeah,
like I did that earlier in my career. Do not overcoach.
And that's what I tried to do. I knew that we had another game that was coming up, and we were playing on Friday, Monday, and so I was like, like we need to work on some of these little things that will help us for Monday's game, because Monday's game is a big game. It was going to decide if we were going to be able to get a 1 or a 2 seed, and we ended up dropping that game, and we could never. By the time that I had realized, and my assistant coaches had realized that, like, we're going to lose this if we keep going down the path that we go down, we could never get over the hump of, okay, let's get back to our fast-paced transition, pressing. We had already dug our hole.
It
was too big.
Far,
and
far.
So we battled back, but we had spended so much energy trying to get back into it that we couldn't finish. And so we ended up dropping that game, and it was a game that we should never have lost. I mean, we play that game 10 more times, and we should win 10 more times.
And those are the ones that
we're sitting here talking about it today.
I know. It's so far.
It agonizes over it.
It is. All right.
Hey, Coach, glad you're liking the video. Make sure you like down below. That helps us a ton. Subscribe, hit the little bell up above. Get a notification when we go live every day. Also, make sure you go over and check out tryouts.com for coaches who want to get better.
So I'm going to go through. There's 2 things I end with. I always end with that question, and then I end with what I refer to as my rapid fire. Okay. So I'm going to ask you specific questions, and then just give me as quick a response as you can. Okay. What is your favorite brand of basketball, the actual ball that you use to play the game? What's your favorite brand?
Oh, Nike.
Okay. And why?
I like the divots on it. They're a little bit thinner, and so that when we play, I think that it just makes it, you get a better touch on it.
Okay. And does Nevada have a specific high school ball?
Yeah, we use well, you can use any ball during the season, but the playoffs it's Wilson. So most people
Wilson.
Yeah, so
we're Spalding. We're a TF 1000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like it.
No.
It's it doesn't last.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I like the synthetics because they almost last longer. One word to describe your ideal player.
Teachable. I mean, I really, I mean,
okay.
I feel like that's a cop out, but I mean that's such a big thing. I mean, if I can just get somebody
I think that's a great one.
To listen and to just, almost that kid that'll just run through the wall because you told him to run through the wall.
Stop talking and listen. Yes.
And just listen. I promise you I'm trying to make you better.
It's like, I know, I have to do that. It's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you a quick story before we go on to the next one. So I was telling you we had a game on Tuesday this week and Friday, and I go into the locker room. It was a team we had lost to. We'd only lost a couple conference games. We had lost to them early in the season. I walk in the locker room for the pregame speech, and it was on Tuesday. And one of the non-players, one of my bottom players, says, "Hey, Coach, I got a question. I go, "What? You have a question?" And everyone in the room said to this player, "Stop talking. You don't have a question," because they knew what the question was going to be because he'd probably asked it. And I go, "What? What's the question?" They go, "No, Coach, no, there's not time for this. No. So that is like, I'm just saying that's my ideal team.
Yep.
Because they took care of the problem before it was a problem.
Absolutely.
Because it was going to be some middle schoolish, jokish.
Hey, am I going to get to play?
Right. It wasn't even going to get to be that. I think it was probably some sort of, but they took care of it before I had to, which was great. Yep. All right. Next question is, that's great. That's a great story. I wanted to share that. One sporting event. You could go to any sporting event in the world and I'd buy the ticket. What would you go to and why?
Ooh. Either it's got to be the Super Bowl for the splendor.
Not for the game. Yes.
Not for the game. For the experience and the splendor. I mean, you talk about the parade of what something is. I mean, it's all
I'm going for the concert. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Exactly. At a halftime show.
Halftime show.
It is. I mean, or some sort of Olympic championship game because of, that patriotic
best of the world.
I mean, head to head. I mean,
in my basement, I have a man cave in the basement. I have Mark Johnson's signed jersey from.
Okay.
He was on the Miracle on Ice in
Yes.
'84. I think it was '84, or maybe it was
82.
'80. It was '80. No, was it '80? I think it might have been '80. Wasn't
Oh,
84.
it might. Yeah.
It was '80. I think I was in middle school. Anyway, I taught his daughter. It was great. But you're right. There's something. I remember I was in a car, station wagon, like family vacation, coming back from a tournament in 8th grade when the Miracle on Ice happened.
And I mean, even to this day, like watching, the remakes or the
I know.
documentary. I mean, the goosebumps, the chills, and then you see them standing up on the podium with the national. I mean, there's to me
That's where the national anthem should be played too. I have a whole problem with the national anthem being overplayed. We should why do we do it before a high school game? We got enough things to worry about.
Yeah.
We don't need to play the national anthem there. Play it. Anyway, that's a whole side note. All right, what's your favorite pregame or postgame meal?
Ooh, post game meal. It's got to be pizza and wings.
Ooh, mine's Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
It closes at 10. Our game started at 7:15, and there's been more than one time I've told the officials, Chick-fil-A closes at 10. Let's take care of this.
Let's get this going.
Get this tight. Okay. And what about pregame meal?
Pregame meal. I'm not a big pregame meal person.
I'm not either.
I'm gummy worms is really that's really what I usually have some candy in my bag that I just kind of dip into a little bit. I'm not like a pregame. Let me go. Usually I've already had lunch at that point in time. I know that after the game we're gonna go to somewhere and we're gonna eat. It's just something that
my nerves get the better of me. All right, what does your game day look like?
Oh, so obviously 99.9% of the time it's a teaching day. Whether or not
I'm going to put in air quotes for me. It's a teaching day. Game day.
Is my administrator listening to this? If it is, I teach the
I'm
entire
close enough
day.
to retirement. I don't care.
I'm early. I'm still early. I'm not even I'm not vested yet.
Okay.
So so it's it's a teaching day, but usually it's I have some sort of worksheet or some sort of independent work for my kids, and I'm watching film.
Right.
I'm making sure that I go over my game plan. Usually texting with coaches. If it's a football game, that's really the day that I sit down and I'm deciding my script of my first couple plays that we're gonna call. If it's basketball, then I'm going back over the film. I'm looking at what sets do I really like. What defenses do I really want to
So you're going through your game prep.
I'm going through it, and then after that school day's over, it's usually getting everything set up. All the administrative stuff that us coaches have to do. I got to get the concession stand ready. I got to get we gotta get the floor clean. I'm getting sweeping the floor. Don't get me started on the floors. That is my crutch that I'm gonna keep going back to. The floor. That's another thing with kids these days. When I was growing up, once the floor was clean, you never touched it with your shoes. You either had your game shoes on or you were wearing socks. And the kids, even your kids on your team, will be running around in their street shoes. And I'm like, what are you? And then
I know they don't.
And
then
in the second quarter, they're like, oh, coach, it's slippery. Well, yeah, because you were wearing
your
Vans.
And it's used for Phi Ed too. No one changes for Phi Ed anymore. What's one thing you do to relax?
I'm a TV watcher.
Okay.
I really am. I will sit down in my recliner chair and I will binge watch some TV.
God, you sound old.
Yeah.
Do you have any superstitions?
I don't really have any. If we're on a good win streak, I'll try to keep something the same, but I don't have anything that it's like I got to keep doing this.
Okay.
Do you?
I do.
What is it?
I have an outfit. It's not quite this outfit. I have many superstitions. Like I miss practice on Wednesday because Wednesday was tax day, and every year for the last 25 years, that's the day I do my taxes.
Okay.
So I missed half of practice. Got to go do my taxes, and we've won 3 state titles, and I've won 80% of my games in Wisconsin. So I'm not messing with it. The kids looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "It's just the day I go to do my taxes. Don't ask.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Like it's what we do."
That's awesome.
It is, but I have lots of them. The year we won it in 2005, I ate 26 number 3s at McDonald's.
What's a number?
It was a double cheeseburger, I think, or something.
Double quarter pounder with cheese.
Yeah, it was because I did it the first game, and we were 25-1 that season.
Yeah, see, I will not wear something if we lose or anything like that, and I'll be like, what was I wearing? Okay, can't put that polo on again or whatever, but. If we win, I'm like, okay, let's try this again. Let's roll this back one more time, and then if it works, then I'll keep it going. But like as far as like
I'm into comfort too. I used to wear a suit and tie all the time.
So what happens if you lose? Do you have a slump buster that you come?
Oh
out
no,
of?
then I cycle through until I find one that works.
Okay.
We've been lucky. We haven't had too many losing streaks. Describe your perfect player in 5 words or less.
Ooh.
5.
5 words. All right. Long, athletic, teachable, hard worker, swag.
I do like I put dog.
Okay, I like that.
You gotta have a little. You got a little dog.
You gotta
in
have
you.
a little dog.
The
in
good
you.
ones got dog in them.
Yep.
Best basketball player you have seen in person.
Oh, LeBron.
Okay. Best basketball player of all time.
LeBron James.
Okay. I'm going to throw out John Havlicek. No one's thrown that out there. You go look at his stats and compare them directly with Michael Jordan's.
Yeah.
Now, Michael Jordan is the best player of all time.
We can have this debate. What's the best player though?
That's
if you go
the hard
back
time.
to
It's generational. That's what I tell the kids.
it is, and I
say, what about George Mikan? And they look at me like, who's George Mikan? I go,
it's that drill you keep doing every day.
It is. I go, it's the first big guy, and he played for the Minnesota Lakers. And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, the Lakers used to be in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So they look at me from like I'm from Mars. Shot clock, yes or no in high school?
I say no.
Okay. Ooh, nice. I'm going to give you a high five on that. Very few people do that.
I'm still just a big believer in like having.
First of all, you don't need it.
You
don't need it. That's the problem. How many games are 4-2? Very few.
Yeah.
1 out of 10,000.
And the other thing too is like, what is the time still going to run regardless?
Right.
What is that going to do? Just have them turn the ball over more? And we speed kids up so much. Like
Right.
kids speed themselves, and it's like just relax,
Yes,
So if you put a timer out there, I can only imagine how many more
bad shots,
bad shot selection, bad passes, all that kind of stuff. And so they're talking about putting it out here, and there's, like you said, there's so many coaches that are proponents for it, and I don't know how many people are really just standing there holding the ball like that.
There's no one. It's just anyway. Do you jump ball? Yes or no?
Like the
actual throwing.
actual throwing up. Oh no, possession arrow.
Yes, and I don't think you should start the game with a jump ball. And here's the reason why.
Okay.
The officials are bad at making the toss.
They are horrible.
And there's only one of them unless it's overtime. So why don't we just give the visiting team the ball every time and just do alternating possession the rest of the game?
That's not a bad idea.
I know. That's going to be one of my goals in life, is to get that change. And the only reason is the kids aren't good at it. We don't practice it. Why do we need a jump ball? We're not the NBA. We don't jump ball everything.
No, and you're
There's
not
one a game.
and you're not going like you're not. Nobody's out there being the huge high jumper. Like, we're not. This isn't an event. Like,
I know.
Let's just get it going.
First of all, one of my guys got a foul like a year ago on a jump ball. I go, first of all, that's a horrible call, and second of all, you can't toss it. What are you talking about? Like, anyway, so that's good.
The ball goes.
That is
one way or the other.
I am on a mission to get rid of the jump ball in high school basketball. Alternating possession, visiting team always gets it. So what will happen? The coaches will spend time on a play to start the game. The defense will spend time on how do we defend their play at the beginning of the game.
You're coming out with some sort of quick hitter.
Rather than the stupid jump ball, which the accountant who's working all day that's doing the high school game and just showed up 30 minutes ago can't throw the damn ball up. Anyway, don't get me started.
Or it's too high, and then your kids can't.
Best game you've seen in person. Basketball game you've seen in person.
Ooh. Oh, Duke Gonzaga last year.
Ooh.
At T-Mobile Arena.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I do remember that one.
That's probably the best one that I've seen that I can really nail down to one.
I'm going to say I coached a triple overtime state championship game that we won it, and the other team did a Chris Webber, called a timeout and didn't have it in the second overtime.
Way.
Yes. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It was one of the, I should have quit in 2011, but anyway.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Halves or quarters?
I like quarters.
We play 2 18-minute halves. So here's what it does.
Stop clock, right? You guys stop
the
clock.
We stop the clock.
Okay.
It's a normal high school game, 2 18-minute halves. And what it does is it does a couple things. It forces me to play more kids, which was high school athletics should be about. forces me to, because no one can play 36 minutes hard. Like no one plays a collegiate game for 40 minutes. Nobody does that. So and the only thing I miss about it is the timeout break between quarters. Like that I can
Do you get an
teach.
extra timeout?
No, that's what I'm more. That's the problem. We should have an extra timeout.
Yeah, you should get at least one more.
Yeah.
My thing, see that kind of you saying nobody goes back plays. That's one of my big things to hang my hat on is you got to be able to play 40 minutes, and that's what I make all my
so
kids.
Hard. It's so hard.
We do it every practice, so we will go for a 40-minute session, no breaks, of conditioning drills, and it's all fast paced.
I know.
And everybody's always like, why 40 minutes? And I was like, well, that's 4 quarters and an overtime.
And
You should, if you can play
hard,
you got to be able to play hard.
Very few kids can do that.
And it's not, and nobody, and I'm never going to ask you to do that.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the thing that like kids don't really understand. It's like, am I really going to stick you out there and be like, go the whole time? No, obviously we're going to sub, we're going to break. But your stamina when you're in the fourth quarter and you can explode a little bit more for that rebound, or you can chase down that loose ball, or you can break down that defender, whatever it is, because you have just that much more. If it makes a difference in one game, it's worth it.
It's worth it. Best coach of all time.
Ooh.
I know. It's harder than player.
Oof.
Who's the best player of all time? We'll go to that one first. You said that.
Yeah, like I said, LeBron.
So best coach of all time.
Man, that is tough.
I know. Coaches always have a hard time. It's either LeBron, Kobe,
I mean, that's
Michael.
the.
It's just that's what everyone says, but they always struggle with this one.
Are we talking NBA?
Doesn't matter. Best coach of all. I know. Pop might be up there.
Pop is definitely up there. I mean, I got 3 that I would put in that category.
Okay, give me 3 then.
Pop, Coach K, Jerry Tarkanian.
No one's mentioned Tark, but I'll give
That's
you Tark.
what we're in Vegas for. I mean, as like we talked about before, being a native of Las Vegas, the only thing that has ever been ingrained in me is the 90-91 Rebels is the best basketball team
They were pretty good.
That was ever there.
I've always said there's 2 types of coaches: coaches with players and ex-coaches. And he had really good players. Trust me, Tark
and he did it. I mean, the JUCO transfer with
I know with the whole. We could have a whole podcast about the portal and we could have a whole. That's a whole different. We can't go down that rabbit hole because we got about a minute left here. All right, I'm going to end with this one bit of advice as a younger coach. So I consider myself a porch dog because I'm like probably several years away from retirement. One bit of advice. One advice to a coach listening to this.
Surround yourself with coaches that have been there.
Ooh, why?
Too many times, and I know that this is one thing that I really tried hard not to do. Too many times coaches, especially my age or whatever, surround themselves with people that are, either the same as them exactly.
Yes, men.
Yes, men, or they're their friends, and I'm just trying to get my guy in here or whatever. And a lot of times those people don't really have a lot to offer. And I would say the same thing for somebody that's older too. Get somebody that hasn't been there, somebody that doesn't do it all the same, because there's a reason why things work. There's a reason why they've worked forever, and there's also a reason why things don't work. And so if you have that differing opinion of older coaches and newer coaches, you're going to get a more collaborative effort.
I'm going to tell you something. So as we end on this, so you just basically led into teachhoops.com if you're looking for a mentor. But here's what I tell people: you want 3 types of coaches. You want a Yoda, someone that knows more than you, can lead you. You want a worker bee, which will basically do all the stuff that you don't want to do.
Yep.
And then you will have somebody that will conflict with you, an adversary, someone that will question why you're running that offense, that defense. You want those 3 things on every coaching staff, and if you do, you'll be a winner.
I cannot agree more with that.
I mean, and again, if you're, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. If you're looking for a mentor, teachhoops.com is the place you want to go. Anyway, look it up. It's what you want. Josh, thank you for coming in. I appreciate this. I can't believe we've been talking for like almost an hour.
I know we could keep going.
I know we could keep going. This has been great. When my son turns 21, I'm going to come out. We'll do this again. My son's going to turn to 21 in a couple weeks, so we're going to come out this summer. I've got some ideas for some podcasts this summer, but we'll hook up and thank you
Absolutely.
for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
All right, appreciate it. Dang. All right, let's do. I gotta do a video. Hold on. That was great. Thank you.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and like before you leave. And also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. It's got everything and a roadmap for you to become a better basketball coach. So go over and check it out. And let's head back to the next video, wherever that would be.